She didn't plan it. She didn't even think. 1 second. Zariel Okoye was pressed against a marble bar of onyx vault, bass rattling her bones, sweat slicking her spine, the lights strobing so violently they fractured faces into ghosts. The next second, she felt it, the shift in the air, the weight, the instinct she'd learned the hard way. Darius was here, her chest locked, her fingers curled so tight around the edge of the bar that her nails bent. She didn't need to turn around to know. Her body always knew before her mind caught up. The room didn't feel safe anymore. It shrank. Sound tunneled. The laughter around her warped into something sharp and distant. Zari, Amani shouted over the music, grinning, unaware. You good. Zariella nodded too fast. Too fake. Her eyes were already scanning for exits. The back hallway was blocked. The VIP staircase was guarded. The front doors were a crush of bodies. Every path felt like a trap. Then she saw him. Darius Cole stood near the edge of the VIP section, dressed too clean for a man who liked to break things, smiled too soft for someone who enjoyed fear. His eyes found hers instantly. They always did. And when they did, his mouth curved into that smile, the one that said you belong to me, even now. Her stomach dropped. He lifted his glass in a mock salute, took a slow sip. Then he started walking. Zari, Amani said again, finally catching the change in her face. What's wrong? Zariella's voice failed. Darius was closer now. Too close. His friends flanked him like shadows. She could already hear his voice in her head. You thought you could disappear? You thought I wouldn't find you? Her lungs burned. She turned blindly, heart hammering, and that was when she saw him. He sat in the center of the VIP section, like the room had been built around him. Calm, still, untouchable. A Korean man in a black tailored suit, jacket unbuttoned, posture relaxed but unreadable. Men stood nearby, not hovering, not obvious, but watching everything. The kind of men who didn't scan the room for threats because they were the threat. Their eyes met. He didn't smile, didn't frown, didn't look surprised when she stumbled toward him like a woman drowning. Zariella didn't stop. She walked straight into the VIP section, ignored the sudden tension, the guards shifting, the murmurs slicing through the music. And before anyone could stop her, before fear could catch up, she turned and sat directly on his lap. The entire section went silent. Her body shook as she straddled him, back pressed his chest, the heat of him seeping through her thin dress. She could feel his breath against her shoulder. Strong, steady, unhurried. Darius stopped walking. What the hell? Someone muttered. The man beneath her didn't move at first. Zariella's heart slammed so violently she thought she might pass out. She made the most dangerous decision of her life, and she didn't even know his name. Then his hand came up, warm, solid. He placed it on her waist, not possessive, not hesitant, certain. The room exhaled. Darius's smile vanished, and close to her ear, in a low voice meant only for her, the man said, "Stay still. Before we continue, can I ask you a question? Where in the world are you watching from? Comment below because we'd love to know how far these stories travel, and hit that subscribe button. Now let's continue." Zariella barely breathed. His hand didn't tighten, but it didn't move away either. It anchored her, claimed the space. She felt it instantly, the shift, like stepping behind a wall she hadn't known existed seconds ago. Darius stared at her like she'd slapped him. "Zari," he called, voice smooth, coaxing. "Get up." She didn't move. Her fingers trembled where they rested against the man's thigh. Expensive fabric, solid muscle beneath. He was real, dangerously real. "Baby," Darius said, spreading his hands. "You don't belong over there." The man behind her finally spoke again, his voice calm, accented, deadly soft. "She belongs exactly where she is." The words sliced through the air. Darius's jaw clenched. "Who the hell are you?" The man didn't answer him. Instead, he leaned slightly forward, his lips brushing Zariella's ear as if they were lovers. "Is he the reason you're shaking?" Her throat tightened. She nodded once. "Did he hurt you?" "Yes," she whispered. The word came out broken. That was all it took. The man lifted his gaze then, not to Darius, but to the room, to the guards, to the man who answered to him, without words. Kong Jisong, someone whispered behind them, voice edged with fear. Darius stiffened. Jae-sung's attention finally settled on him. His expression didn't change. That was worse than anger. "You're interrupting my evening," Jae-sung said. "Leave." Darius laughed, but it cracked. "This is between me and my girl." Jae-sung's hand pressed more firmly into Zariella's waist. Not enough to hurt. Enough to be unmistakable. "She is not your girl," he said. "And this is no longer between you." The guard shifted. Not aggressively. Casually. Blocking exits. Closing space. Darius took a step back. Zariella felt it. The power of it. The way the room bent toward Jae-sung's without him raising his voice. She'd spent years living under a man who needed to shout to feel big. This man didn't need to do anything at all. Darius's eyes flicked around, calculating. "This isn't over," he snapped, pointing at Zariella. "You hear me?" Jae-sung leaned closer. "If you speak to her again," he said quietly, "you won't leave next time." Silence swallowed the threat. Darius swallowed. Then he turned and walked away, his friends scrambling after him. Only when they were gone did Zariella realize she was crying. She shook, breaths coming in short gasps, the adrenaline crashing all at once. She tried to stand, panic surging now that the danger had passed, but Jae-sung's hand tightened just enough to stop her. "Easy," he murmured. "You're safe. For now." She turned her head slightly, just enough to see him. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that missed nothing, a face carved from restraint rather than warmth. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. I panicked. I'll get up. I didn't mean to." "Stay," he said. The command wasn't harsh. It was final. Her body obeyed before her mind did. Minutes passed. Or seconds. She couldn't tell. The club slowly returned to life. Music swelling back in. Conversations resuming in hushed tones. But the space around them remained charged. When her shaking finally eased, Jae-sung spoke again. "What's your name?" "Zariella," she said. "Zari." "Zariella," he repeated, tasting it. "I'm Jae-sung." "I know," she admitted. "Everyone does." A corner of his mouth twitched. Not a smile. Something darker. "You were brave," he said. "Or reckless." She laughed weakly. Those get confused a lot. He studied her like a puzzle he hadn't expected to enjoy. "Is he finished?" "No," she said honestly. "He never is." Jae-sung nodded once, as if confirming something to himself. "Then this won't be the last time you see me." Her heart skipped. "That's not comforting." "It wasn't meant to be," he replied. When he finally let her stand, her legs nearly buckled. He rose with her, towering but never crowding her space. "I'll have someone take you home," he said. "I can get myself." "I know," he interrupted. "I'm offering, not ordering." She hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to rely on anyone. But another voice, quieter, tired, whispered that for one night, she didn't want to be strong. "Okay," she said. As they walked out of Onyx Vault together, Zariella glanced back once. The place where her fear had cornered her now felt distant, unreal. She didn't know yet that this choice, this single reckless act, had just rewritten her life. And Kong Jae-sung knew at the moment she sat on his lap. He'd just decided to protect her, whether she wanted him to or not. The city looked different from the back seat of Jae-sung's car. Zariella had lived in Port Avalon for 4 years, worked doubles, memorized bus routes, counted tips down to the dollar. But sliding into the rear seat of a matte black luxury sedan with soundproof windows made the streets feel distant, like she was watching her own life through glass. She clasped her hands together in her lap to stop them from shaking. The driver didn't speak. He didn't even glance back. He drove like he'd done this 1,000 times. Smooth turns, no wasted movement. Jae-sung sat beside her, one arm resting casually along the seat back, not touching her, but close enough that she felt the heat of him. "You don't have to take me all the way," she said, breaking the silence. "I can get out a few blocks away. No, Jae-sung replied. The simplicity of the answer unsettled her more than refusal would have. I don't want trouble to follow you. His gaze flicked to her, assessing. It already has. She swallowed. Darius, he's not smart, but he's persistent. Persistent men are predictable, Jae-sung said. Predictable men are easy to handle. That word again. Handle. It made her chest tighten. She looked out the window, watching the neon smear into streaks of color. You didn't have to step in back there. I know. Then why did you? The car slowed at a light. Red washed across Jae-sung's face, sharpening his features. Because you asked for help without saying a word, he said. And because he thought he owned you. Her breath caught. And that bothered you? Yes. She turned to face him fully now. Why? The light turned green. The car moved. For the same reason I don't tolerate disrespect, he said. It spreads if you let it. She exhaled, a shaky sound. You talk like everything's a principle. It is. That should have scared her more than it did. They pulled up outside her building 10 minutes later. Zariella's stomach dropped when she saw through the tinted glass, the flickering security light, the cracked steps, the shadowed doorway that never quite felt safe. Jae-sung noticed. This is where you live? He asked. Yes. He didn't comment, but something hardened in his eyes. She reached for the door handle. Thank you. For earlier. I won't forget it. I don't expect you to. She paused. Will I see you again? His expression was unreadable. That depends on how much trouble follows you. She laughed softly, though there was no humor in it. Then I guess yes. She stepped out, the door closing behind her with a soft thud. The car pulled away before she reached the stairs. Zariella stood there longer than she meant to, heart still racing, the echo of his voice lingering in her ears. Stay still. You're safe. For now. Inside her apartment, she locked the door, then checked it twice. She leaned her forehead against the wood, breathing hard. Her phone buzzed in her hand. Amani, are you alive? Zariella slid down the door and typed back. Zariella, I think I just sat on a crime lord's lap. Amani, what? Zariella, long story. I'm home. I'm safe. Amani, you better tell me everything tomorrow. Zariella dropped the phone onto the floor and hugged her knees to her chest. She told herself it was over. One night, one reckless choice. She was wrong. 3 days later, Darius walked into the diner. The bell above the door chimed bright and innocent, and Zariella's entire body went cold. She was refilling coffee at table 6 when she saw him in the reflection of the stainless steel counter. Same clean jacket. Same smile that never reached his eyes. He slid into a booth like he owned the place. Zari, he called pleasantly. Didn't know you worked mornings now. Her hands trembled. She set the pot down carefully. Slowly she turned. Leave, she said. Come on, he said. I just want to talk. Her manager, Rick, glanced over, frowning. Everything okay? Yes. Darius answered for her, flashing a grin. Old friends. Zariella's heart pounded. She took a step back. I said leave. Darius leaned forward, voice dropping. You embarrass me. Before she could respond, the bell chimed again. The diner seemed to shrink as Jae-sung walked in. He wore a dark coat this time, open at the collar, hair swept back. 2 men followed him, not crowding, just present. The air shifted the way it had at Onyx Vault. Rick straightened. Can I help you? Jae-sung's gaze went straight to Zariella. Relief flashed across her face before she could stop it. Yes, he said. You can release her from her shift. Rick blinked. Excuse me? Jae-sung pulled out his wallet and placed it on the counter. He slid out several bills without counting them. This should cover the inconvenience. Rick stared at the money, then at Zariella. Zari. Her throat closed. She nodded slowly. It's okay. Darius stood up so fast the booth rattled. What the hell is this? Jae-sung turned to him, expression calm. You're persistent. Darius's face flushed. You think you can just buy people? I think I can remove obstacles, Jae-sung said. You are one. He stepped closer, close enough that Zariella could see the sweat bead at Darius's temple. "This is your last warning," Jae-sung continued. "You will not come near her again." Darius scoffed. "Or what?" Jae-sung leaned in, voice dropping so low Zariella barely caught it. "Or the next conversation will not be public." Something in Darius's eyes flickered. Fear. He backed away, hands raised. "She's not worth it," he muttered, already retreating. When he was gone, the diner exhaled. Rick cleared his throat. You good, Zari?" She nodded, tears threatening. "Yeah, I am." Outside, the air felt sharper. "I didn't ask you to do that," she said as soon as they were alone. Jae-sung looked at her. "You didn't have to." "That man, he doesn't stop." "I know." She folded her arms. "Then why are you helping me?" He studied her for a long moment. "Because someone should have helped you sooner." The words hit harder than she expected. "Come with me," he said. "To where?" "To eat," he replied. "You look like you haven't." She hesitated. Every instinct warned her not to follow him deeper into his world. But another part of her, the part that was tired of being afraid, said yes. "Okay," she said. Handwritten table was quiet, warm, nothing like the club. The smell of broth and sesame oil wrapped around her like a memory she'd never had. They sat across from each other this time. "You don't talk much," she said. "I listen," he replied. "What do you hear?" Someone who learned to survive by disappearing. Her fingers tightened around her chopsticks. "You don't know me." "I know pain," he said. "It has patterns." She looked up at him. "What pattern do you see in me?" "That you mistake endurance for weakness," he said, "and that men mistake your silence for permission." She laughed bitterly. "Story of my life." Silence settled, comfortable and heavy. "Why did you choose me?" she asked suddenly. "Back at the club." He didn't answer right away. "Because you didn't beg," he said finally. "You chose." Her chest warmed at the words. Outside, the city moved on, unaware that something irreversible had begun. And somewhere, Darius was already plotting his next mistake. The silence after dinner stretched longer than Zariel expected. They sat in the quiet of handwritten table long after the bowls had been cleared, the low hum of conversation around them fading as the restaurant emptied. The staff didn't rush them. They never rushed him. Zariella noticed that too, the way people bent time around Kong Jae-sung, without realizing they were doing it. "You keep looking at the door," he said finally. She startled. "I didn't realize I was." "You do it when you think danger might return," he continued. "You measure exits. You count seconds." Her lips pressed together. "It's a habit." "So is surviving," he said. She exhaled slowly. "You talk like this is all familiar." "It is," he replied. "Different details. Same fear." That surprised her. "You don't seem afraid of anything." His gaze lifted to hers, sharp and direct. "That's because I learned early what fear costs." She hesitated, then asked quietly, "What did it cost you?" For the first time since she'd met him, Jae-sung looked away. "My childhood," he said, "and most of my illusions." Something in his voice told her not to press. Still, she felt the pull, the strange sense of being seen by someone who didn't soften the truth. When they left the restaurant, night had deepened, the streets slick with reflected light. His car waited at the curb. "Let me take you home," he said. She nodded. This time, when they arrived at her building, Jae-sung didn't pull away immediately. He studied the entrance again, the flickering light, the shadows. "This place isn't safe," he said. She bristled. "It's all I can afford." "I didn't say it wasn't understandable," he replied. "I said it isn't safe." She crossed her arms. "I can take care of myself." "I believe you," he said. "That doesn't mean you should have to." The words landed heavier than she expected. She reached for the door. "Thank you. For tonight. For everything." "Zariella," he said. She paused. "If he comes back," Jae-sung continued, "call me." She turned, searching his face. "Why?" "Because I will finish it." Her pulse jumped. "That's not comforting." "I know." She got out before she could say something she'd regret. Inside her apartment, the walls felt closer than before. She checked the windows, the lock, the hallway. When she finally sat on her bed, exhaustion crashed over her. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Did you get inside safely? Her heart skipped. Zariella. Yes. Unknown number. Good. She stared at the screen, then typed. Zariella. You didn't have to check. The reply came almost instantly. Unknown number. I know. She smiled despite herself, then frowned at the feeling. The next morning, Port Avalon woke up buzzing. Amani burst into the diner mid-shift, eyes wild. Tell me you did not leave with him. Zariella groaned. Lower your voice. Zari. Amani hissed, sliding into the booth. People are talking. Onyx Vault talking. Her stomach dropped. About what? About you, Amani said. About sitting on Kong Jason's lap, like you owned him. Zariella's cheeks burned. I didn't own anything. I was terrified. I know, Amani said softly. But men like him? They don't get used. They choose. Zariella looked down at her coffee. I didn't ask for this. Amani reached across the table, squeezing her hand. I know. Just be careful. She promised she would. 2 nights later, the promise shattered. Zariella was halfway up her apartment stairs when she heard footsteps behind her. Too close. Too fast. Zari. Her blood turned to ice. She spun, keys clenched between her fingers, heart pounding. Darius stood at the bottom of the stairs, eyes bloodshot, smile gone. You didn't think I'd stop, did you? He said. Her voice shook. Leave me alone. He laughed. You think hiding behind another man makes you untouchable? She backed up, pulse roaring in her ears. Don't come closer. You humiliated me, he snarled, taking a step forward. In front of everyone. Fear surged, sharp and familiar. Her hand trembled as she reached for her phone. Darius saw it. He lunged. She screamed. Headlights flooded the alley. A black car screeched to a halt, tires screaming. Doors opened. Men moved fast. Darius froze. Jae-sung stepped out, coat thrown over a dark shirt, eyes lethal. I warned you, he said calmly. Darius backed away, panic cracking his bravado. I didn't touch her. You intended to, Jae-sung replied. That's enough. 2 men grabbed Darius before he could run. No, wait, Darius shouted. You can't. Jae-sung didn't look at him again. He turned to Zariella instead. Are you hurt? She shook her head, tears streaming. I was so scared. Jae-sung lifted a hand, brushing her cheek with his thumb. Gentle. I know. The tenderness undid her. What are you going to do to him? She whispered. Jae-sung's jaw tightened. Enough. Darius was shoved into the car, still yelling. Zariella grabbed Jae-sung's arm. Don't kill him. He looked at her, eyes searching. Why? Because I don't want blood on my conscience, she said. I just want him gone. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. As you wish. She sagged in relief. Come with me, he said. Tonight, this is no longer negotiable. She hesitated only a second before nodding. Skycrest penthouse took her breath away. Glass walls. City lights stretching forever. Silence that felt expensive. She stood near the entrance, arms wrapped around herself. I don't belong here, she said. Jae-sung removed his coat, draping it over her shoulders. You belong where you feel safe. She met his gaze. Do you always decide after people? No, he said, only when they're in danger. He led her to the living room. You can stay here, as long as you need. Her voice trembled. And what do you expect in return? Nothing, he said, except honesty. She nodded slowly. That night, she couldn't sleep. She found him standing on the balcony, city wind tugging at his hair. Did you really grow up afraid? She asked softly. Yes, he said, of a man who taught me that fear is currency. She stepped closer. And now I collect it, he said, so others don't have to. She swallowed. Including me? He turned, eyes dark. Especially you. Something shifted then. Not safety. Not fear. something dangerous and intimate. She reached out, resting her hand against his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady beneath her palm. "Don't make promises you can't keep," she whispered. He covered her hand with his own. "I never do." Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. And somewhere in the city, Darius Cole was about to learn what boundaries really meant. Morning came softly in the Skycrest penthouse, filtered through glass walls and pale curtains that moved with the breeze. Zariel awoke slowly, disoriented by the quiet. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then she remembered the alley, Darius's voice, the headlights, Jae-sung's calm fury. She sat up, heart racing. The bed was enormous. Crisp white sheets tucked so tightly they felt unreal. This room didn't belong to her. Nothing in this place did. She swung her legs over the side and stood, padding across the cool floor toward the windows. The city sprawled beneath her, alive and distant, like she was watching the world from above instead of struggling inside it. A knock sounded softly. She flinched. "Yes." The door opened slowly. Jae-sung stood there, already dressed, dark slacks and a charcoal shirt, sleeves rolled to his forearms. He looked composed, as if the night before had been nothing more than an inconvenience. "You didn't sleep much," he said. She glanced at the clock. "I slept enough." That wasn't an answer. She sighed. "I'm not used to feeling safe. My body doesn't know what to do with it." He nodded once, like he understood exactly. "There's tea in the kitchen. And food. Eat if you can." She followed him out, still wrapped in his coat from the night before. The penthouse was quiet, but not empty. She sensed people somewhere beyond the walls. Security, staff, a system humming just out of sight. She poured tea with shaking hands. What happened to him? Jae-sung leaned against the counter, watching her carefully. "He won't be coming near you again." "That's not an answer," she said softly. "No," he agreed, "but it's the only one you need." She met his gaze. "You promised. No blood." "And I kept it," he said. "Fear can be just as instructive." She swallowed, unsure whether to feel relieved or unsettled. Silence stretched between them, thick but not uncomfortable. "Why me?" she asked again. "You could have walked away." "You didn't." Jae-sung studied the city beyond the glass. "Because I saw myself in you." She frowned. "I doubt that." "You shouldn't," he replied. "You live cautiously. You don't trust easily. You learn to endure instead of expecting rescue." Her throat tightened. "That doesn't make me special." "No," he said. "It makes you dangerous in your own way." The words lingered. Later that afternoon, Zariella showered and changed into clothes someone had thoughtfully provided. Simple, comfortable, nothing flashy. When she stepped back into the living space, Jae-sung was on the phone, speaking Korean in a low, controlled tone. She caught fragments, orders, consequences, boundaries. He ended the call and turned to her. "You'll stay here for a while." She stiffened. "That sounds like a decision." "It is," he said plainly, "but not a prison. You can leave. I won't stop you." She studied him. "You don't think I will?" "No," he said. "I think you're tired." The truth of it hit harder than any threat. Days passed. Zariella learned the rhythms of Skycrest. The quiet mornings, the soft footsteps of staff who never intruded, the constant but unobtrusive presence of security. Jae-sung came and went, sometimes gone for hours, sometimes returning late at night with a weight on his shoulders she could feel even without asking. They talked in pieces at first, on the balcony at dusk. Over meals she helped prepare, because she needed to feel useful. In the quiet moments when the city lights flickered on and the world felt far away. "What do you want?" he asked her one night. She blinked. "Right now?" "Always," he said. She thought about it. "I want to stop being afraid that my past will catch me." He nodded. "Then you must stop letting it define your future." "That's easy for someone with power to say." He met her gaze. "Power didn't save me. Control did." She tilted her head. "And love?" He didn't answer right away. "Love is a liability." She smiled sadly. "You sound like someone who's been hurt." His eyes darkened. "We all have." The tension between them grew, unspoken but undeniable. It lived in the way his gaze lingered too long, the way her breath hitched when he stood too close, the way they circled each other with restraint instead of denial. One night, she found him in his office, lights low, paper spread across the desk. "You're bleeding," she said. He glanced at his knuckles, split and bruised. "It's nothing." She crossed the room without thinking, taking his hand. "Sit." He hesitated, then obeyed. She cleaned the wound carefully, fingers gentle. "You said violence only when necessary." "This was necessary," he replied. "For who?" she asked quietly. "For the people who work for me," he said. "For the order I maintain." She looked up at him. "And for you?" He didn't pull away. "Sometimes." When she finished, she didn't let go right away. Their eyes locked. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "Yes," he agreed. She stepped back, heart pounding. "I don't want to be another thing you control." "I don't want to control you," he said firmly. "I want you to choose." She laughed softly. "You're very convincing." "I don't need to be," he replied. "You're already here." The line crossed itself later that night. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't stolen. It happened after hours of talking, of truth spilling out in the quiet dark. "I won't save you," she said, voice trembling. "I won't ask you to," he replied. When he kissed her, it was deliberate, asking, waiting. She answered with her whole heart. The next morning, the consequences arrived. Detective Han Min-seo sat across from Zariella in a stark interview room, her expression calm but sharp. "You've been seen with Kang Jae-sung," Han said. "That's not a coincidence." Zariella folded her hands. "I didn't break any laws." "No," Han agreed, "but you're standing very close to people who do." Zariella met her gaze. "What do you want from me?" "Information," Han said. "Protection. A way out." Zariella shook her head. "I don't want out." Han raised an eyebrow. "You think he's different?" "I think he's honest about who he is," Zariella replied. "That's more than I can say for most men." Han sighed. "Be careful. Love doesn't erase consequences." "I know," Zariella said quietly. "But fear didn't protect me either." When she returned to Skycrest, Jae-sung was waiting. "You spoke to her," he said. "Yes." "What did you tell her?" "The truth," she replied, "that I choose my own path." He studied her, something like pride flickering in his eyes. "This will get harder," he warned. "I know," she said, "but for the first time, it's my choice." Outside, the city moved relentlessly forward, and somewhere between danger and desire, Zariella Okoye stopped running and began deciding who she would become. The first crack in the illusion came quietly. It arrived not with sirens or threats, but with a photograph slid across a marble table. Zariella stared down at it, heart thudding. The image showed her and Jae-sung stepping out of hammer and table together, his hand resting briefly at her lower back, her face tilted toward him, unaware, intimate, damning. Jae-sung watched her reaction closely. "They're escalating." She swallowed. "Detective Han." "Yes." She pushed the photo back toward him. "I didn't tell her anything." "I know," he said. "This isn't about what you said. It's about what you represent." Her brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "You are leverage," he said calmly, "and a symbol. They will try to turn you into both." The words made her skin prickle. "I didn't ask to be that." "No," he agreed, "but power attracts attention whether it's chosen or not." She stood abruptly, pacing the room. "So what happens now? You lock me away? Hide me?" His voice sharpened. "I would never cage you." She stopped, facing him. "Then what?" "Then you decide," he said. "Do you want to stay visible? Or do you want distance?" The choice sat heavy in her chest. Distance meant safety. Visibility meant honesty, growth, risk. "I'm tired of shrinking," she said quietly. "If they're going to come, let them come." Something unreadable passed through his eyes. "That path has consequences." "So does every other one," she replied. The fundraiser invitation arrived the next day. The Luminara Gallery, high profile, cameras, politicians, philanthropists. Jae Song's name listed among the primary donors. You don't have to come, he said. She took the envelope from his hand. You wouldn't ask if you didn't already know my answer. He smiled faintly. Then prepare yourself. The night of the fundraiser, Port Avalon glittered. Zariella stood in front of the mirror, breath shallow, smoothing the dark emerald dress that clung to her curves without apology. It wasn't flashy. It was powerful. Amani's voice echoed in her head from earlier that day. Stand like they don't own the room. Like you do. Jae Song appeared behind her, fastening a necklace at her throat with careful fingers. The gesture was intimate, reverent. You look like yourself, he said. She met his gaze in the mirror. That's the point. When they arrived, the room shifted. Eyes followed them. Whispers rippled. Cameras flashed. Zariella felt it all and didn't flinch. She kept her chin lifted, her step steady, her hand resting lightly on Jae Song's arm. Not clinging, choosing. Detective Han stood near the edge of the room, watching. Their eyes met. Later, as Zariella stepped away toward the balcony for air, Han followed. You're brave, Han said. Or reckless. Zariella smiled thinly. People keep saying that. You know what he is, Han continued. You know what this costs. Yes, Zariella said. And I know what it cost me before him. Han studied her. If things turn bad, my offer still stands. Zariella met her gaze. I won't trade one cage for another. Han exhaled. Then I hope you survive your choices. So do I, Zariella said. Inside, Jae Song watched him speak. Tension coiled tight beneath his calm. You didn't interrupt, Zariella said when she returned. I trust you, he replied simply. The word landed like a vowel. The fallout came 2 nights later. Sirens screamed outside Skycrest. Lights flooded the glass walls. Zariella jolted awake, heart slamming. Jae Song was already up, pulling on his jacket. Stay here. She grabbed his arm. What's happening? A message, he said grimly. They watched from the balcony as police vehicles lined the street below. Not for him, but close enough to remind him he was being watched. Her phone buzzed. Amani, Zari, turn on the news. Please. She did. The headline punched the air from her lungs. Local man hospitalized after brutal assault. Suspected gang connections. A photo followed. Darius Cole. Bandaged. Broken. Alive. Zariella's knees buckled. Jae Song caught her before she fell. You said, her voice broke. You said no blood. And there wasn't, he said quietly. He's alive. She pulled away, panic and anger crashing together. You promised. I promised he wouldn't die, he replied. Not that he would be unharmed. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You decided that without me. I decided to end the threat, he said. He would have come back. Again and again. Her voice shook. You don't get to choose what justice looks like for me. His jaw tightened. Then tell me what it looks like. She stared at him, chest heaving. It looks like me not waking up terrified that the man I love is becoming the thing that destroyed me. The words hung between them, raw and dangerous. You love me, he said quietly. She swallowed. Yes, and that terrifies me. Silence stretched, thick and painful. I am not good, he said finally. I never pretended to be. I know, she whispered, but I need to know where your line is. He stepped closer. My line is you. That's not enough, she said. I need be the one who decides when I cross mine. He searched her face, then nodded once. Then I will not act without you again. The promise felt heavier than the last. Days passed under tension. Detective Han pressed harder. Subpoenas followed. Business audits. Pressure from all sides. And through it all, Jae Song changed, not softer, but more deliberate. He consulted Zariella, asked instead of assumed, explained instead of commanded. One evening, he handed her a folder. What's this? She asked. Legal documents. He said, trusts, accounts, properties. Her eyes widened. Why? So that if you walk away, he said, you walk away with your power intact. Her throat tightened. This feels like goodbye. It's freedom, he corrected, whether you stay or not. She closed the folder, hands trembling. You're letting me go. I am choosing you, he said, which means I cannot own you. Emotion crashed through her. She stepped into him, pressing her forehead against his chest. Stay, she whispered, but stay as my partner, not my protector. He wrapped his arms around her carefully, reverently. Always. Outside, the city pulsed with danger and promise. And for the first time, Zariel understood that love wasn't safety. It was choice. Again and again, even when the cost was high. The shift from survival to partnership didn't happen overnight. It happened in conversations that lasted past midnight, in disagreements that didn't end with slammed doors, in choices Jason made slowly instead of instinctively. Zariela noticed it most in the way he listened now, not the sharp, calculating attention he gave everyone else, but a quieter kind, the kind that waited. She sat across from him one evening at the long dining table in Skycrest, legal papers spread between them, business plans, restaurant projections, enrollment forms. You don't have to do this, she said, tapping the papers. Managing one of your restaurants. Business school. This feels curated. Jae-sung folded his hands. You think I'm building you into something. I think you're trying to protect me from needing you. A beat passed. Yes, he said. She let out a breath. Then let me choose how. He nodded. Tell me. I'll manage the restaurant, she said. But I apply to school myself. I fail or succeed on my own merit. No shortcuts. Agreed. And no using my name to scare people, she added. If they respect me, it's because of my work. A faint smile touched his mouth. You underestimate how intimidating you already are. She rolled her eyes. I'm serious. So am I, he said. You will have autonomy, even if it costs me efficiency. The word mattered. Efficiency was everything in his world. The restaurant nearly broke her. Hammer and Table sister location sat closer to the harbor. Tourists late nights. Thin margins. Staff tested her. Suppliers tried to overcharge her. A man twice her age laughed when she corrected his numbers. She didn't call Jae-sung. She stayed late. Learned. Failed loudly. Fixed mistakes. The first night she came home after closing, she collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion etched into her bones. You're bleeding, Jae-sung said quietly, kneeling in front of her. She looked down at her hand, raw from broken glass. It's nothing. He smiled faintly. I've heard that before. He cleaned the cut with the same care she'd once given his knuckles. I fired someone today, she said suddenly. For what? Harassment, she replied. He thought I wouldn't. Did he argue? Yes. Did you hesitate? No. Pride flickered in Jae-sung's eyes. He didn't try to hide it. Detective Han came back into her life like a shadow that refused to lift. They met in a neutral cafe this time. No interrogation room. No threats. You look different, Han observed. Zariela stirred her coffee. I am. You know the pressure isn't stopping, Han said. We're tightening the circle. I know. And he's still standing. For now. Han studied her. You're not afraid he'll drag you down with him? Zariela met her gaze steadily. I'm not afraid of consequences anymore. I'm afraid of erasing myself to avoid them. Han leaned back. If he falls. I don't go with him, Zariela said. That was the agreement. Han's eyebrow lifted. You trust a crime boss to honor that. I trust the man who gave me the legal means to walk away, Zariela replied, even if it hurts him. Han exhaled slowly. Then maybe you're not as naive as I thought. Maybe, Zariela said. The call came 3 weeks later. Jae-sung stood on the balcony, phone pressed to his ear, the city roaring beneath him. Zariela watched his posture change, shoulders stiffening, jaw setting. When he hung up, he didn't speak right away. What is it? She asked. A deal collapsed, he said. A legitimate one. That happens. Not like this. She approached cautiously. What are you saying? They're testing me, he said, seeing how much I've softened. Her stomach tightened. And I won't answer the way they expect. Fear sparked. What does that mean? It means I'll let money go instead of blood, he said. And some will see that as weakness. She reached for his hand. That's not weakness. In my world, he said quietly, it can be fatal. She searched his face. Do you regret choosing this path? Choosing me? He turned to her fully. No, but I regret that loving you puts you in danger. She swallowed. I chose this too. I know, he said. That doesn't make the weight lighter. The night before the hearing, another audit, another tightening noose. Zariella couldn't sleep. She found Jae-sung in the living room, suit jacket discarded, staring at the city. Do you ever wish you could disappear? She asked softly. Yes, he said, but men like me don't vanish. We're either removed or replaced. She stepped into his space. Then let yourself be replaced. He frowned. By who? By something better, she said. By legitimacy. By time. You think I can outrun my past? No, she said. I think you can outgrow it. He studied her like she was offering him something terrifying. If I fall, he said slowly, you leave? Her chest tightened. I don't abandon people. You protect yourself, he corrected. That's not abandonment. She nodded reluctantly. Only if you promise not to drag me down with you. I promise. The hearing didn't end him. It wounded him. Fines, scrutiny, lost partners. But no arrest, no indictment. The city buzzed with speculation. 3 months passed. Zariella stood in the back office of the restaurant, reviewing inventory, when Amani burst in, grinning. You're on the news. Amani said, like good news. Zariella blinked. What? Business spotlight. Amani said, female-led management turnaround. They didn't even mention him. Zariella's throat tightened. They didn't. Nope. Amani said, this one's yours. That night, Jae-sung took her to the rooftop. The city spread beneath them, familiar now, not a cage, not a fantasy, just a place where they'd both bled and built. I watched the segment, he said. She smiled shyly. You did. Yes, he said. You were exceptional. She laughed. You sound like a performance review. He reached into his jacket. Her breath caught, not because she expected anything, but because something in his expression had changed. Softer, vulnerable in a way she'd rarely seen. Zariella, he said, I won't promise you safety. I won't promise simplicity. I won't even promise longevity. Her heart pounded. But I will promise you truth, he continued. Choice and partnership. He lowered himself to one knee. The world seemed to still. Will you choose me? He asked, again, knowing exactly who I am. Tears streamed down her face. Yes, she said, laughing through them. Yes, I choose you. He slid the ring onto her finger, hands steady despite everything. They stood there together, the city breathing beneath them, not rescued, not redeemed, chosen. And somewhere in the distance, the future waited, uncertain, dangerous, earned. The years didn't soften the city. They sharpened it. Port Avalon learned how to say Zariella Okoye's name without whispering. It learned to associate her with clean books, steady growth, a restaurant that survived storms that swallowed others whole. It learned her face not as an accessory at a crime boss's side, but as a woman who walked into rooms like she belonged there and made them adjust. The ring on her finger was simple, intentional, not a shield, not a statement, a choice. Jae-sung stood beside her at the edge of the Luminara gallery, fingers brushing hers, never gripping. Cameras flashed, voices murmured. This time, the attention didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a test. You're quiet, she murmured without looking at him. So are you, he replied. I'm listening. To what? To the room, she said, to whether it's waiting for us to fall. He glanced around, sharp eyes cataloging exits, faces patterns. It always is. She smiled faintly. Good. Keeps us honest. Across the room, Detective Han Min-seo watched them with an expression Zariella couldn't quite read. Not hostility. Not approval. Something closer to calculation, mixed with resignation. Han approached when the crowd thinned. "You've done well," Han said, voice low. Zariella nodded. "So have you." Han's gaze flicked briefly to Jae-sung, then back. "Enjoy it while it lasts." Jae-sung didn't react. Zariella did. "Is that a warning?" Zariella asked calmly. "Or advice?" Han considered her. "Both." When she walked away, Zariella felt a familiar prickle at the back of her neck. Not fear. Awareness. That night, they returned to Skycrest. The penthouse hadn't changed, but they had. It felt less like a fortress now and more like a crossroads. Zariella kicked off her heels, flexing sore feet. "You were thinking about her," Jae-sung said. "I'm always thinking about the other shoe," she replied. He poured 2 glasses of water instead of wine. "Then let's talk about it." She leaned against the counter. "If this ends badly..." "When," he corrected gently. "When it ends badly," she continued, "I won't pretend I didn't know. I won't pretend love was an excuse." His eyes softened. "You never do. And you won't pretend I was collateral damage," she said. "You won't tell yourself he protected me if he didn't." He stepped closer. "I won't." Silence settled. Not heavy, deliberate. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "The night at Onyx Vault?" He didn't hesitate. "No." "Even knowing how much it cost?" "Yes," he said. "Because you didn't ask to be saved. You chose to survive." She reached for his hand. "So, did you?" The phone rang. Jae-sung froze. That alone made her heart stutter. He looked at the screen, jaw tightening. "I need to take this." She nodded slowly. "I'll be here." He stepped away, voice dropping. She couldn't hear words, only tone, controlled, clipped, dangerous in its restraint. Minutes passed. When he returned, his expression was calm. Too calm. "What happened?" she asked. "Nothing," he said. She crossed her arms. "That's a lie." He met her gaze. "It's an omission." Her chest tightened. "Jae-sung." "There's movement," he said finally. "Old players. New alliances. People who don't like that I've slowed the game." "And the restaurant?" she asked. "Safe. For now." "And me?" He hesitated a fraction too long. She inhaled sharply. "You promised." "I promised you autonomy," he said. "Not immunity from proximity." Anger flared, but beneath it, resolve. "Then we adjust." He studied her. "How?" "We expand," she said. "Legitimacy isn't hiding. It's exposure. Audits. Boards. Partnerships you can't intimidate. You want to move faster," he said. "I want to move louder," she corrected. He smiled faintly. "That will provoke them." "Good," she said. "I'm done being invisible." The next morning, the article dropped. Kang Jae-sung announces major transition. Steps back from operations to focus on legitimate enterprises. Zariella read it twice. "You didn't tell me," she said quietly. "I wanted it to be public before it was personal," he replied. "This paints a target." "Yes." She met his gaze. "On you. And on anyone who stands with me," he said. She stepped closer. "Then I'll stand where everyone can see." The weeks that followed were volatile. Markets reacted. Enemies tested boundaries. Allies hesitated. Zariella worked longer hours. Spoke on panels. Signed contract with hands that no longer shook. One night, as she locked up the restaurant, a familiar chill crept up her spine. She turned. A man stood across the street, watching. Not Darius. Someone new. Someone patient. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You should be careful who you inspire. Her breath caught, but she didn't run. She took a photo of the number, of the man. Then she called Jae-sung. "I think part 2 just started," she said calmly. His voice sharpened. "Where are you?" "At work." "I'm safe." Silence crackled. "Zariella," he said slowly, "I need you to listen to me. I am. This won't be like before." "I know," she replied. "That's why I'm not afraid." She hung up and looked back across the street. The man was gone. At home later that night. She told Jae-sung everything. The number, the message, the certainty in her bones. "This is escalation," he said. "Yes," she agreed. "And it's not about you anymore." He searched her face. "You're sure?" "They're watching me," she said, "which means I matter." He cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. "You always did." She rested her forehead against his. "Then don't protect me from this. Stand with me." "I always have," he said. Outside, the city pulsed, unchanged, unforgiving. Somewhere in Port Avalon, new players were making plans. Somewhere else, Detective Hahn was reading the same article with a furrowed brow. And somewhere between legitimacy and legacy, danger was recalibrating. Zariella stood at the glass wall, looking out at the lights, the future pressing close. She wasn't afraid. She was ready. Thank you so much for watching this story until the very end. If you felt something, anything at all, please hit that subscribe button and leave a comment telling me your favorite part. I read every single comment, and they mean the world to me. Also, let me know what city you are watching from. I love knowing where all my amazing viewers are located. Until next time, stay blessed, stay safe.